Good afternoon. Welcome, members and guests, to the Rotary Club of York, the 26th largest club in the world, and a club dedicated to imagining and living out the Rotary mission of service above self. Our opening song today, My Country 'Tis of Thee, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Cal Weary. Our invocation will be led by my wonderful predecessor, past President Jackie Summers, and our visitors will be introduced by Mark Wheeler. Please take a moment to silence your electronic devices.
Every time I come up, I want to hit the bell, but I guess I gotta wait. Rotarians, join me. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We really have the best voices in this club, don't we? Wow. Please join me in a word of prayer. Merciful God, we give you thanks for the opportunity to gather in fellowship and for the overflowing abundance you provide. We pray that you will open our eyes to the meaningful work we're called to do in serving others and honoring you. This time in which we live is often wrought with dissension and uncertainty, but you are a mighty God of everlasting hope, connecting us to one another in encouragement and friendship. Please bless our speakers and their vision of providing service to manufacturers and for their unwavering commitment to family and staying true to their core values. Guide us in meeting the needs of the most vulnerable and bless us as we continue to place service above self. We give you thanks for this food that it may nourish and strengthen us, and thank you for the people who have prepared and served it. Into your everlasting wisdom we place our path. Thank you for your presence with us today and always. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Cal, I am jealous of your voice. We have 5 guests today. I'm pleased to have the honor of introducing them. When I call your name, if you'd please stand and remain standing until President Glenn has the opportunity to welcome you, we would appreciate that. The first 3 guests are with our speaker today: Molly Blymeyer, Lauren Kaufman, and Cheryl Rhein. Welcome, and again, they're a guest of our speaker. Guest of Leon Butler, we have Marcia Rosenberg. And guest of Bill Anstein, we have Sanfra Anstein. Welcome.
Friends, we are delighted to have you with us today. I trust that you will have enjoyed your visit today and will hopefully return and visit with us again in the future. Please know that we would welcome your interest in joining our ranks. Members, let us now, with a better round of applause than that last one, welcome our guests. Several announcements for the good of the order. First, let me just say that we want to hold in our hearts and in our prayers, everyone in Florida as we gather at this hour, and in particular, many of our former Rotarians and current Rotarians who are visiting or have moved down there. I had contact this morning with the Norris family, and thankfully, Tom and Joan are safely in the Carolinas rather than in Naples. But I've just learned that John Kleindenst is in the area and was forced to evacuate. So both for those who we know and love and for everyone they're affected by this, let's keep our prayers going strong. The Charitable Endowment Fund Board will meet at about 1:20 or thereabouts right after we're finished here at CCY down in the wine room where we just picked up our lunch. The IDEA committee will meet on Monday, October the 3rd at 8 a.m. via Zoom. And the membership committee will meet at CCY at 1:30 on October the 5th following that club meeting. I want to express our deepest thanks to everyone who participated on Monday in the Love for Community event. It was a great day in every definition. I am very pleased to report that pending final expenses, it appears that we have at least cleared and netted $50,000 for this event. Absolutely remarkable. And we're pretty confident that the final number will be north of that, but it is at least 50,000. Please take note of our sponsors on the sponsor boards, which we've left up here. They are a huge part of what has made this possible. I think the combination, frankly, of our rightful enthusiasm for the project that was selected this year and your extreme and routine generosity are what has made this so successful. Let me finally single out Darren and Dee and the planning committee, our fundraising committee. If you are on that committee, would you please rise? Thank you. The phrase "we could not have done it without you" is often overused. In this particular case, it is spot on. Thank you for everything that you did to make this so successful. And now BJ Fegley has some information to share about the ribbon cutting on the Kiwanis Lake project.
Thank you, President Glenn. So when we look at headlines on a world level, there's not a lot to get excited about, but I'm happy to announce on a local level, I have some good news. So as many of you are aware, we have been working with the city of York to restore Kiwanis Lake. And this project began in the fall of 2018 with the Preserve Planet Earth Committee reaching out to York City to come up with an idea of what can be done given the unfortunate circumstances that surrounded the lake as it had fallen into disrepair. And we needed to come up with a plan that involved 5 different phases, which if any of you seen the press release in the local paper, they are outlined there as well. But the first being a wildlife management, which is a euphemism for goose control. No further comments. We had a lake aeration issue, which specifically was to improve and be able to maintain the water quality. The gate rehabilitation and controls, which we have to give a special thanks to PennAir Hydraulics for their help in working with us in getting the gate working and functioning. The education component, which was to develop smart lake technology, which I have to say thank you to Tom and John Barton and Trolla Industries as they spearheaded those efforts with their team to make that a possibility. And then last but not least, adding fountains for an aesthetic appeal, but also helping with the aeration efforts. I can say with pride that we will have our ribbon cutting ceremony on October 6th at 1:30 at Kiwanis Lake. So we have arrived at the finish line after several years of working with the city of York. We had a tremendous amount of support from local vendors and local businesses, as well as this club raising over $175,000 in cash and in-kind donation. So we say thank you. We hope to see as many of you there on October 6th at Kiwanis Lake at 1:30 as possible. Parking, I have not heard any details as of yet, but we are right across the street from the Graham Aquatic Center, and I believe there's a church parking lot right there as well. But it really was a group effort. And I just wanted to say thank you to the city of York for their support. They did a lot of work. They committed a lot of time and hours from their staff to make this happen. But at this point, the lake is a resounding success. So thank you. We hope to see you all there on October the 6th at 1:30. President Glenn.
This is what we do, folks. It's just tremendous. And please, if your calendar allows, I think it would be just terrific to have a great showing of representation from our club at that ribbon cutting. So please make every effort. And now Phil Woods from the membership committee has a word about attendance numbers.
Thank you, President Glenn. Fellow Rotarians, today I was asked to recognize 55 individuals for their consecutive years of perfect attendance. Truly an honor, and I think it's worth the time that we spend today to recognize those individuals based on the efforts that they have provided to our club, our community. On the left, you'll see names appear on various slides. I'm going to group together individuals, years 1 through 4, 5 through 9, and so on. Rotarians, if you're able and willing, when I read your name, please stand to be recognized. At the end, I'll ask to recognize with applause that group. We'll sit down. You won't have to stand the entire time for 55 names. You're saved on that one. It's also important as we read through these names, these are not individuals who show up to every weekly meeting. They do not sit with us on Wednesdays. They do not maybe log in via Zoom. They are the people of action. They are those OTRs that we talk about. Those are individuals who are members of committee doing the great work of all of our committees. If they don't grab lunch with us on Wednesday, they show up to Kiwanis Lake for a ribbon cutting. They have makeup opportunities. So again, it's those people of action, those OTRs that are part of our club that are deserving of recognition today. So with that, I'm going to get to it for 55 names. Bear with me as I read through. And again, the slides are going to show some of these individuals as well. Sean Kenny, Jen May, Karen McCormick, Jake Miller, Chris Toth, Leanne Wilson, all with 1 year, Kevin Apno, Doug Berman, JT Han, President Glenn Miller, Gene Ream, JL Smith, Jules Tolbert, all with 2 years, Wilda Alessi, Courtney Piccolo, Denny Bachman, Alan Roth, all with 3 years, and Diane Marino, Fred Rosenmiller with 4 years of consecutive perfect attendance. Fellow Rotarians, can we honor this group with a round of applause? I don't know if you wanted to stand all 55 names, but you're off the hook. Next group, these are individuals who have achieved at least 5 years of consecutive perfect attendance, years of perfect attendance. Debbie Ashway, Andy Rawitz, past President Jackie Summers, Robert Bacon, Fran Polk, Bill Hunter, myself, past President Di Hershey, BJ Fegley, and past President Brian Tate. Can we recognize those individuals? The next group have achieved at least 11 years of perfect attendance, up to 14. Past President Ann Druck, past President Josh George. This is the past president group you'll see. Jerry Watson, past President Fred Fay, Aaron Jacobs, and past President John Kleindens, who I know is not with us today. Round of applause for these individuals, 11 through 14 years. This is where it starts getting good. This is serious commitment to our club and our community. With 15 years of service, consecutive years of perfect attendance, past president Bob Davis, Bill Anstein, Sarah Austin, past president Dave Hoffman, past president Al Sykes, past president Dick Hershey, Walt Tilley. Al, you can stand up. I said able and willing. Past district governor Ben Hoover, Frank Reed, and past president Rob Bowen. Can we honor and recognize these individuals? Even better, these years are getting great. 20 through 24 years of consecutive perfect attendance. Past president Gordon Freirick, Tom Barton, past president and recent croquet champion Lou Elliker. We had a good time, Lou. Past president Mike Summers, past president Jim Walker, and Ken Cooper. Ken, you want to take a picture while you're standing up? Ladies and gentlemen, can we honor and recognize this group? I don't know if we have anyone in the audience who's younger than these number of years, but this is significant. 26 years consecutive perfect attendance. Mr. Chuck Long. I don't know if Chuck's here. He's not. He'll be at Kiwanis Lake. Past president Dick Julian and Jan Walgemuth. A huge round of applause for your efforts. Thank you. And I think, is that the last slide? Okay, this is the last slide because this is a club of one. We have one fellow Rotarian who has over 30 years of consecutive years of perfect attendance, which is fantastic. Mr. Leon Butler, you're my inspiration. I have 7. That's from day one. And it's going to be a while till I achieve that. Your dedication to the club, your service is amazing and well-deserved recognition. Ladies and gentlemen, 30 plus years, Mr. Leon Butler. Thanks again, everyone, for your recognition.
Thank you. Congratulations again to all of those folks. I understand if you take any member of the membership committee out for a drink, you automatically get a couple of extra attendance points. So there are different ways of getting there. Seriously, two drink minimum. Okay, well, you know, inflation, you know, things are going up. All right. It is having welcomed one past President Summers, it's my pleasure to welcome the other one to the podium who has some information to share from the program committee. Past President Mike.
Thank you, excuse me, President Glenn, and I'm used to remarking how lovely the president is. I'm shifting now to the prayer. She's lovely, and you're okay, Glenn. All right, I'm up here as program chair, and you all may remember that traditionally in the fall, we do some kind of political debate type program. This year, rather than doing debates, since we have some significant races coming up for US Senate and for governor, we decided we would forego a debate, but we would invite all 4 candidates for those 2 major offices to come address us. We actually held 5 dates out for the fall, and I contacted all 4 campaigns right after the primary. As of today, we have one of the candidates coming, Dr. Oz, who's coming on October 19th. We're continuing to work with the other 3 campaigns. We're very hopeful, but we're down to 2 possible dates that for the 3 potential candidates. So somebody's going to be on the outside looking in if we get all of them to salute. I can tell you that traditionally this is the time when they start getting antsy looking for opportunities, but the communications with those campaigns has gone a little dry. So if you have any connection into any of the three other campaigns, I would suggest that you suggest to them that this is a great place for them to get exposure and that they should hopefully commit. In a perfect world, we would have Lieutenant Governor Fetterman come to balance out Dr. Oz coming since they're running for the same office. They have expressed that they have taken the date under consideration, but I'm not getting a real warm buzz feel about it currently. So we'll have to see. Now, let me shift to the candidate who is coming. First and foremost, we're very pleased that Dr. Oz will join us. Jackie and I will be out of town, unfortunately, but Dave Meckley has agreed that he would serve as a moderator for this program. Now, the only way a good moderator works well is if he has great questions from our membership. So I would ask that each of you consider to send me respectful questions for the candidate, Dr. Oz in this particular case. And if we get other people committing, I'll let you know so that we can expand that to the other candidates. And we're going to try to work with Dave to put together a really good program. The way I envision it currently is it's going to be in a conversation form that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on past President Dave to carry that conversation and to work in your questions, but it gives us the best opportunity to get an introduction to the candidate, move into why he is running for office, why Pennsylvania, and moving into domestic agenda and then international agenda. And then Dave is certainly going to have the ability to pivot in the questions to try to get that. Our goal always with every political campaign that comes forward is for them to put their best foot forward. So while we want to have challenging questions, our goal is not to embarrass any of the candidates, but to try to gain as much information as we possibly can about why they're running, why they make the best candidate for us in the fall to vote for. So with that, please send me some great questions, and I'm going to help put that together for past President Dave. And I have to tell you personally, I'm very disappointed not to be here. I think it'll be a very fun, enjoyable, interesting, and informative program.
Doing the work of the program committee is a yeoman's job generally, and trying to coordinate with these folks each year is especially challenging. Mike, we're really grateful to you and to the group for continuing to carry forward this noble tradition of this club in having these potential leaders come and be among us. And let's hope that we can get a couple more. I hope that it works out. All right, and now without further ado, Rotarian Jim May will introduce our program for the day. Jim?
Good afternoon. Today I have the honor of introducing Bob Rhein, president of PennAir. Bob grew up in the Haverford area and after high school attended and graduated from Bucknell University with a degree in economics. While at Bucknell, Bob was a rare two-sport athlete, excelling in both soccer and lacrosse. You may also recognize Bob's name as somewhat synonymous with lacrosse, as he was very instrumental in forming the youth leagues in York County, which eventually led into the scholastic sports program that have become today a hallmark of our scholastic sports. You were too humble to mention that stuff, so I added it. I have known PennAir from the days they were on South Court Street to Mountain Rose Avenue to Industrial Highway and now on Davies Drive. Through 4 relocations over 50 years, PennAir's growth has been significant from 5 people in the early 1970s to nearly 150 people today. PennAir serves local and regional manufacturers with excellence. If something is being made in a plant, there is a good chance that PennAir has a presence. Their customers share that they kick ass, but this emotional verb drives every PennAir associate to help people in manufacturing so they can focus on what matters the most and leave work at work. Their suppliers share that they are well on their way to becoming one of the most technically capable organizations in the country. And the local community shares that they make York County a better place for all people by sharing their gifts and talents while serving others. PennAir believes that everything starts with relationships, and mine started with them in the early 1980s. Jim Conrad, co-founder and father-in-law to Bob, was a first-class businessman and a good friend. He was one of the smartest business owners I have ever known in my life. Jim's business acumen, coupled with his knowledge of products and applications, paved the way for the stories you will soon hear. Jim was forward-thinking in his approach to his business. As a result, upon Jim's untimely passing in 2010, PennAir was poised to grow, not wither, as many family-owned and run businesses we all know have experienced. PennAir is one of just a few certified great places to work in York County based companies. Bob and his wife Cheryl reside in the York area and have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming Bob Rhein, president of PennAir.
Second generation. I'm going to go with the reading glasses just for a couple of minutes here. So I debated whether or not to do it this way, but get used to different. So before I introduce my son and my son-in-law, just by a quick show of hands, does anybody in the room play Wordle? Just good. And if you would, just again, for those that have their hands up, since you play regularly, has anybody yet played today? Okay, a few of you. Who has not yet played today? Could be an issue because I think I'm going to give you the answer here shortly. But just for those that aren't familiar with Wordle, so Wordle's a new game. It's, I'll say, based mobile or on your PC. But basically, you're going to guess a 5-letter word by using different letters. And as I play this game, I recognize, again, in our family, we are very competitive. So we hate to lose more than we love to win. So I want to explain just how you do this. Basically, you put 5 letters out there and then automatically they are revealed. And if you happen to get one of the right letters, then it turns a certain color. If it's in the wrong position, it turns a color. If it's in the right position, it turns green. So personally, I played the game not using one of those standard words that if you Google, they say use this because it's got like 3 vowels and it's highest percentage. So I decided early this morning after my quiet time in my chair, I was going to use today's event for Wordle. So the first word I put in was Rotary. And then I realized that's 6 letters, not 5. But as it wiggled and told me that's not good, I put in the word guest. And again, for those that haven't played, I'll apologize up front. So guest. So the U in guest came up. The the S in guest came up. Wrong location, but right letters. So then I got to thinking, okay, we're at the Country Club of York. I'll put in the word club. So I have a U, but now, you know, the S, so I put in clubs. So again, second word, it's clubs. Now I've got the U right in the center of this 5-letter word. I've got the S still hanging out there. Boy, now I'm really struggling. So this is, again, as a math person, not as nearly as bright as my wife, Cheryl, who is an English major. So I put in the word skunk. And I put in the word skunk thinking this is really going to stink having to follow Jay Paterno last week, but up it came. So the U remained in the middle, but the S now on the front of the word, it's yellow, but not in the right position. So as I'm going into the 4th word, and you have 6 chances, but I'm about to spell the 4th word. So I tend to fill the gap with X's, and some play with paper on the side. Again, I'm a rules follower. I don't do that, but I put X's in the blank spots. So I put an X in, I had the S, I had the U, and then I had XX. So I'm thinking, okay, Psalm, but you don't spell Psalm, and there's a silent whatever P, and there's no U. So then I put an A in the front, I put an O in the front, I put an I in the front. I'm struggling. All right, so anyway, Jim, thank you. Very kind introduction. We are grateful for the relationship. And on behalf of our family, we appreciate the invitation to speak to you today. But I did share with Jim that there was no way I was going to stand up in front of this wonderful group without our next generation being a part of it. So in a few minutes, I'll introduce to you our two guest speakers. But as I make this introduction, Jim, I have to share this. So we have a few things in common. So we both played soccer in college, and then we both went into banking after college. Yours lasted a lifetime in banking. Mine lasted about 6 months. I hated banking. And again, to all the bankers, John, I apologize. For me, it wasn't a good fit. Fortunately, at that time, coming out of Bucknell, I had been dating the firstborn daughter of a business owner by the name of Jim Conrad. So Jim founded our business, PennAir, in 1968. And in 1986, I was fortunate enough, as Jim was looking to expand into the Philadelphia area, he was looking for some outside salespeople. And at that time, just somebody that kind of knew the area. And since I'd grown up outside of Philadelphia, I knew how to drive the roads. I knew the Schuylkill Expressway. I knew the Pennsylvania Turnpike. So it appeared that I might have the qualifications. So my wife, Cheryl, who at that time was Conrad, suggested you should go interview with my father's company. I had no clue what I was going in to interview for. But at the time I interviewed with the general manager, and it was kind of mysterious to me. I did a little bit of checking, and the only thing I thought I knew going in was it had something to do with meats, hoagies, food and beverage, realizing that's Conrad Deli, not PennAir. The other uncomfortable thing was back in those days, you could provide a new employee prior to hire a psychology test and a mechanical aptitude test. I don't think that's legit today, but apparently I had passed both of those to ultimately be qualified to begin in sales in 1986. So 36 years later, still don't have a clue really what I'm doing. But I have surrounded myself with incredible people. And as Jim shared, we're close to 150 associates within our organization today. All of them have gifts and talents far beyond anything that I could ever do from the standpoint of our business. So the two gentlemen that you're going to hear from are extremely gifted and talented, and they have a few stories they're going to share with you today. We've got a family joke that over the years, when it comes to volunteering and giving back to the community, I've occasionally forced some of our family members to participate. So as our youngest child, Conrad, tends to say, he's been voluntold. So I have voluntold Conrad and Seth to speak to you this afternoon. So my fourth attempt at the Wordle game today came up with the answer. Spoiler alert for those that don't want to hear the answer, you can not listen, or for those virtually, hello from around the world, but you may want to mute right now. But the word is usurp, U-S-U-R-P. Of course, I had to Google it. I've heard the word, I had no idea what it meant. So it's not a coincidence, but it says to take a position of power or importance by force. So because it's not a coincidence, that word is directly tied to today's event. So many second generation and third generation family-owned businesses experience forced takeovers that damage family relationships. Cheryl and I have willingly and intentionally stepped out of the way to allow Seth Bray, our son-in-law, who is our CEO, and Conrad Rhein, our son and director of sales, to leave the organization. So please join me in welcoming both Seth and Conrad to the podium.
Thanks, Bob. So how do you want to do this? Press take on it. Can you guys hear me okay? Awesome. All right. Have you used a microphone before, Conrad?
This is my first time.
All right, beautiful. All right. So Bob, thank you for the introduction. You told us it's going to be 30 seconds, ended up being 5 minutes. Can we have our time back? Can we usurp our time back? And then, thank you very much. But Jim, thank you to you. So you heard Bob's thanks, but I think as third generation, the work that you did with Jim and Mary Conrad, the work that you did with Bob and Cheryl, that helped build an incredible base for the business that is allowing us as third generation to kind of reach a little bit higher on. So thank you. The work that you did mattered, and it means a lot to us. Appreciate it. All right. So as we get going, there's a famous saying about third generation in business. I hope you're prepared for it, right?
What is it?
Okay. So first generation builds it. Second generation sustains it. Third generation
Destroys it.
I didn't think he was going to get that, actually. I was going to make fun of him. I'm surprised you got that right. But third generation blows it. Honestly, this is where I get a little aggressive. I think that's bull. Yeah, you guys know what I'm saying, right? And part of it is that's just like a saying that people believe. We've said it so many times that we just believe that's what happens. So I think when we look at it, that kind of, frankly, that pisses us off, right? Because we think there's some amazing things that can happen. And so in today's world, when we see headlines about great resignation, quiet quitting, quiet firing, brain drain, we think that these multi-generational, locally owned businesses are uniquely positioned to address some of those problems, right? So today we're going to share you some stories. We're going to talk about some legacy, but the overarching theme is that we think businesses like that can actually address a lot of the problems that we're seeing today. And a lot of times we feel like it's being overlooked. So before I get onto my pedestal and start just kind of going off and jumping off the edge for this, Conrad's going to share a little bit more about the legacy of the company.
Awesome. Thank you, Seth. So when we heard we were going to follow Jay Paterno, we were not excited all week long. And I couldn't for the life of me understand the why. So Seth has the whys that matter. I couldn't understand why Jay Paterno, why the week after him. And this week, driving here and coming here this morning, I found that why. So Jim and Mary Conrad founded the company in 1968 in December. It was a small garage on Court Street, and they only had access to 3 product lines. But the mindset back then was, we're going to help people in manufacturing with pneumatics. And I couldn't understand this Jay Paterno, this connection and why it was happening. And it hit me. So Jim Conrad named the business the PennAir company in 1968. You asked Jim face to face, he would tell you, we served Pennsylvania. That was our marketplace, and air for pneumatics. And it made sense and it sounded good. But the truth was that wasn't it. He loved Penn State football, and Jim went to Penn State. And for the longest time, I was, why Jay? And I think today, if Jim Conrad was here today, he would be incredibly excited to know that his business is following after Jay Paterno, because it was such an inspirational part to him as he started his business. So today we are excited to be after Jay. And I know if Jim were here today, he'd be very happy to know that his business is being spoken after that. So 1968, it started. Then to 1973. So it was the PennAir company. 1973, we moved from the little garage, then we moved to the fire hall. And also as we move, we grow, right? So the PennAir company, then we changed to PennAir and Hydraulics Corp. Fast forward to 1988, we had the opportunity to move to Maryland, a market we don't serve. So who goes? Jim and Mary Conrad? Not likely. So second generation, Bob and Cheryl Rhein step up, which helps us.
They were voluntold.
They were not voluntold. They had the option. So they went. So Bob and Cheryl go 1988, which gives us into this footprint of Maryland, DC, Virginia, West Virginia, where we'd never been before. Fast forward to 1996, New Force, which is the division they started in Maryland, is growing, and PennAir and Hydraulics Corp is growing. So we move into the industrial highway building, which is roughly 24,000 square feet, which we thought we'd never fill. We filled it. And then fast forward to 2000, we acquired what was our largest competitor at the time, called Constance Pneumatics. Constance was headquartered out of the Philadelphia area, but really gave us that footprint in South Jersey, Delaware, greater Philadelphia region. Fast forward to 2015, we kind of rebranded because we had PennAir and Hydraulics Corp. We had New Force and we had Constance Pneumatics. So today, what you see is just PennAir. And in 2016, we moved into our new building on Davies Drive, which is roughly 116,000 square feet. So to say that the company didn't face struggles and challenges, we did. We got some really large customers over the years. And today, half of those customers are out of business. We took on suppliers, we lost suppliers, and we're fighting that battle of employees, how to keep, retain, and all the rest. And that was a struggle throughout the years. But one thing was the recessions. So if you look at some of the recessions that PennAir would have battled, 1969, 1 year after Jim Conrad started the company, 1973, when we make the move to the fire hall, 2001, the year after we put up a lot of money to acquire our largest competitor. And then 2020 with COVID, right, which really rocked our industry and changed what we were doing, but helped us get on the path that we're on today. And we're really excited about the direction that we're going. And Seth asked me to share a brief why. So if you want to look at the picture, I think I might be a year and a half old. So it might be 1998. I was under 25 years. So everyone was wondering, for people with service, I am 25 years old. So that is Jim and I. And my why is our people. And my why is our family. So I love what I do. I wake up every day really excited.
Why is your head so big in that picture?
It's massive.
Okay.
I have no clue why, but I love what I do. And it's a choice. To join a family business is a choice. And Bob and Cheryl and Jim and Mary never put that pressure on me. And every day I wake up excited to be able to walk into the building and be with our people. I'm not excited to always work with my brother-in-law, but I love giving speeches with him. But as we grow, we're on this really neat trajectory. So I want Seth to share a little bit more. So Seth, go ahead.
So we fast forward the story, right? So 2020, we've all heard this thing, right? So the pandemic happens, orders shut down, everything changes. We're not alone. You guys have heard that story before. But what we think was unique about our business is that we started our digital transformation years prior, and it's still going on. There's still days where I threaten to go paper. Like I just want it to work, and it doesn't work for me. We start preparing ourselves financially for what we're going to do. We wanted to be able to weather storms. We want to be able to thrive through storms. So we started doing all these things in advance. But what happened was, when everything shifted for us, because we were multi-generational, we had this strong base, a strong base of business that survived through 2 generations. That's been in business for 50 years. That allowed us to take other risks. It allowed us to do other things, right? So we were able to kind of build off that, do things that maybe most people wouldn't do in that period of time. But the other side to it was, because we're locally owned, right? Decision-making is fast. It's speed. The decision-making process for us a lot of times is me saying a text to that table and getting an emoji back. There's times we're making decisions about hiring people, firing Conrad, buying businesses, right? And it's just emojis. We're not even using words anymore. My point is that we can move quick. And so when we think about where the world is today, my belief is you have to be able to move fast, and you got to have personality in the business. And we talk about a world where people are not engaged. We're struggling to recruit people. We're struggling to train. We're struggling to develop that personality. So we developed a personality over 40, 50 years of business, and we're continuing to evolve that. We lean into that big time. So guys, because of that, because of being multi-generational, because of being locally owned, it allowed us to do things where we had a 5-year plan. So we started executing on that 5-year plan in 3 months. So what happened? So the base of this is, that was part of our vision as a company. So our vision, high level, is great place to work, right? So when Be Great Place to Work certified, you heard about that. That's intentional, because we're going into facilities where we acquired a company about 4 months ago. I went in and was talking to some of the new associates. Hey, tell me about your work experience. What has this been like? How's this been for you throughout the course of your career? Feedback is, hey, I joked I've always worked in a dungeon. Not a great place to work, right? That's an opportunity. But we're told that's how that work should be. We're told that's how it's supposed to be. And that's how they believed it. So that's an opportunity for us. That's why we want to be a great place to work. Technically capable. We're going into places and acquiring businesses that require a high level of technical skill set. Why? Because honestly, Amazon can't do it. You can't get it at Walmart. And we need people that actually know how to fix stuff, people that know how to repair stuff, people that know how to design stuff. Because what happens when Fred, who's been doing that his entire life, there's no actual Fred in the corner, I'm just like making that up, right? So Fred in the corner that we've worked with our entire life, what happens when he retires? Who's going to do that? We hear those stories. What happens when Sally leaves? What's going to happen? See, we think it's on us to start building that next generation in these businesses, in these industries, to allow us to kind of basically answer the call, because people are going to need it. Our community is going to need it. So if we go into a more detailed approach of kind of what our strategy is, right? I hear dull, dirty, and dangerous. I love hearing that, right? I hear can't recruit people, can't retain people. I hear, man, no one wants to do this job. Like, it is music to us, because that's what we want, because our belief is those industries, maybe they've been underserved, maybe they've been underinvested, maybe they've been unattractive. When you have a multi-generational company that has some personality, you can start infusing that personality into what's happening in those industries. You can start driving the change and what's occurring there and making differences. And we think that is a massive opportunity for multi-generational locally owned businesses. And we're not the only one. There's lots of people that can do this. But that's the thing, is that that is the opportunity that we are seizing today. So as that's tied into, man, you hear the personality, you hear the vision of what we're driving as an organization, but it really comes down to the core value. And you heard it. We're here to kick ass. That's what we tell our associates, right? That is a personality where people can get excited about it, right? It is not very dry and it is not plain, because we want people to want to show up and work. So when you talk about engagement, you talk about trying to drive, like, we can do that when there's personality, because people can find purpose in it. And today, as we approach business, we forget about that. And multi-generational, these locally owned businesses, we have the opportunity to make quick decisions, to build off of strong bases. We can actually do that. And we can actually address some of these problems that we're seeing as headlines today. So Conrad, can you just share a little bit more about actually where are we today?
Yeah, no problem. Hit the remote, pay attention. Yeah, it's fine.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So today at the core, we believe people in manufacturing need
Wrong
help.
way, wrong way,
Wrong way.
Got it.
Wrong way. We believe people in manufacturing need help. So what we've done is, today you've heard a little bit about PennAir, but we really took 2020 and the ability to kind of shift and move, right? Traditional fluid power, not the same that it was pre-COVID, and definitely not after COVID. So if you look at the board, you begin to see some of these brands trying to tell our customers who PennAir is today. We're still trying to do that. So when we purchased these companies and saying, hey, PennAir owns these, that didn't make sense, because we were still trying to convey all that we did as a company. So what we did is we formed the Conrad company. And I always tell people, if you think Seth Bray would name
After him.
it's not
Don't
named
even
after
tell a
me. If you
story.
think it is, you don't have a brother-in-law then. So the Conrad company is after Jim and Mary Conrad, the founders, right? And it's essentially a holding company. So payroll, benefits, profit sharing, things come from that. And what we've done is folded these business underneath it, because PennAir is really good at helping people in manufacturing with pneumatics, hydraulics, and automation. But we're not a compressor company. We're not a hydraulic repair company. But now we have those specialties and those skill sets. So PennAir was 1968. You see that on the top right. You move down to what's called Grease Point. So a little bit about 3 years ago, we acquired them. They help people in manufacturing with automatic lubrication, and they're headquartered out of our York facility today. You move up one, you see Hanover Conveying Systems. So located in the snack food capital of the world, Hanover, and they build stainless steel conveyors for the food and beverage industry. So they're experts at that. You move up one again, around a year and a half ago, Compressor Maintenance Company out of Westminster, Maryland, brought them on board. They're a full-fledged compressor house. We move up one more again. A little over a year ago was Allied Hydraulics. So in Little Helen, Pennsylvania, who would have thought? One of the best hydraulic repair shops, honestly, in the United States is located there. And they do motor, pump, valve, cylinder repair, and they're incredible. And then we shift down. So 3 months ago, up in New Cumberland, we acquired Capital Tool, so precision machine shop. And then the last one is that little VFC, so Valley Fluid Components, similar to what would have been PennAir in 1968, New Force in 1988. Located in Salem, Virginia. Our territory kind of stopped parts of Virginia and West Virginia. Acquiring Valley allows us to serve the whole state of Virginia today, basically build that out from scratch. So we're incredibly excited about the vision. Seth's going to wrap up with some of our
So-
goals and aspirations.
Give me my time.
Okay.
So 2 years ago, the thing is, we're talking about all this stuff, right? So flat, I don't know, our lips are going up here. So 2 years ago, 65 employees, one location, 30 million revenue, roughly, right? Fast forward, 150 employees, 5 locations, 60 million revenue. So what we're seeing is as we can deploy some of this, and we've shared just a little bit of the secret sauce. That's only because of Jim, but there's a lot of else to it. But as we're doing this, we're moving into these industries that are called dull, dirty, dangerous, and frankly, we're making them exciting. We're recruiting people like crazy. We're retaining people. We're bringing on unbelievable talent. And with the help of Bob running our training program, to us, training is so important that the president of our organization does it for us. Because of all that, we're able to build this quick base, right? So in these acquisitions, we've doubled, tripled, quadrupled almost all of them within 2-year period. So you think about that growth of what's happening. It is not new markets. It is not like the super sexy stuff that we're chasing after, although some of that exists. It's about taking these really good businesses, adding the personality that can exist in a multi-generational business, making fast decisions that you can exist when being locally owned, and just growing the shit out of them. I mean, that's what we're doing, but we're having a hell of a lot of fun doing it. And that's a part of this whole process for us. So our vision, as we've done this, it's changed. It was to get to 50 million. Well, we've blown through that. Now the vision, when we sit and talk about it, man, it's about having 500 associates, 40 locations, 250 million in revenue. And we believe that is doable. Headquartered in little old York, Pennsylvania. See, we know we can do that. We're already doing it. The track record is already happening. But that is what can happen, we believe, from multi-generational locally owned business. But we're not alone. There's bigger than us, there's better than us, but we know those companies have an ability to do something that can really impact the community. When we talk about that many jobs, you're talking about well-paying jobs, you're talking about training people. We're looking for people to do this, but it's happening. But we think multi-generational locally owned businesses have an opportunity to do something unique to address those challenges today, to address quiet firing, to address the great resignation, to address lack of engagement. So to us, that is incredibly exciting. But my fear sometimes is that in society and politically, we focus more on the companies where the owners are building spaceships, right? We're focused on like Amazon and Tesla, and it's cool, right? There's all kinds of stuff they can do. But the difference is they're not committed to these communities. I mean, do we think they would be? We are. Locally owned, multi-generational is. It's in his blood. He tells me I just married in, which is true. But
I let you marry him.
yeah, correction. But we think that's an opportunity, right? Like, we think actual things can happen as a result of that. But my fear is that there's more focus on those that might not be committed to the communities. But we think you can. And we think we're proving that there's a viable business model around it. And to us, that's unbelievably exciting. So we believe this story matters. But to make this happen, to make it continue, we need help from community. We need help people, local politics, right? We need help from people in this room. There's a lot of people in this room that can drive a lot of influence. But having the perspective of trying to figure out how to work with these multi-generational locally owned businesses and how we can grow, like, there's a lot of amazing things that can happen. But frankly, we're going to need your help to actually make that vision come to reality. So thank you guys. Thank you for taking time just to listen to our story. I guess at this point, we turn it over to questions. Is that fair? Pretty sure. Got it. That's what the notes were, Conrad. Just say no. Yes. Sorry. So I'd tell you the personality started.
The question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did the kick-ass branding start with the third generation or Mr. Conrad? So I would tell you Jim set the tone and it was carried on by the second generation. The wording comes from a third generation. Come on. We got to take a little credit there. Yes.
How are you finding the requiring? What are you looking for?
It's a little bit of secret sauce.
Repeat the question. Repeat the question.
Oh, what are we looking? Can you hold this note for me? What are you looking for in the businesses that we're acquiring? So we're frankly, there's more that I don't want to share just yet, right? Because we do have a model of how we're doing this. We've developed this consistent model that we're deploying. I can tell you over the last 2 years, I personally have looked at well over 100 plus businesses. We've done 8+ acquisitions and how we're navigating this. But we like dull, dirty, dangerous. We like the markets and we're looking for the businesses that people are like, it's unattractive. People wouldn't invest in it, but we look at it and we're like, man, there's this immense opportunity. It's an underserved market. The people at the plant are wondering what they're going to do when Sally leaves. Those are the business models that we're looking for. But again, we do have a more consistent model that we approach it, but sorry, I don't want to get that out here. Yes, in the back. Falvey. So just to be clear, I don't trust Generation Z. Just to make that clear, Conrad. Why don't you go ahead, you can answer that one. Can you also hear, can you repeat that for the video?
It was a long question, Mr. Falvey. So thank you. Basically, how does this, the third generation essentially maintain what was left of the second and kind of catapult that into the next generation? I'll just speak from the sales side because I'm sales, so he's ops. We're very different. From the sales team side, most of the people on my team today, so 10 people in the field, most of them are 30 plus years in the field. So today, when they work with someone like myself, it's like, man, you're 25, right? What are you doing leading us? Like, what do you know about fluid power? I don't know shit about fluid power. I'm going to be honest, but I know the company incredibly well. And for me, it's not about selling a product. I'm selling the people behind the product.
It's a really good message for the room. Just
I know a little bit
and the
about
people
fluid power.
and the people online.
I know a little bit about fluid power, but it's the gap where it was the trust, right? So they needed to see that time where, hey, you're not just coming in as the third generation trying to make these changes. It took time. It took a lot of rapport and a lot of trust. So when Bob passed those reins off to me, that was 30 years under Bob's reign, right? And for a 25-year-old to come in and begin to trust and learn that, it was a lot of time riding in the cars, on the phone with them. But the commitment was, we're not going anywhere. We're not trying to change what you've built over 30 years. We're just trying to enhance it to bring more people on board and to grow with us. So it's a really good question. The ops is different.
Are you going to answer his question? Come on now.
It's a sales team. You got to bond and rapport.
All right,
That's why it's
let
about
me
the
give you an
customers.
operations perspective of this. So no, but and Conrad gives a really good point of this. But in today's world, man, you have to engage differently. Like you actually have to spend time and invest it. And some leaders, that is exhausting. There are days where I'm exhausted. But my investment, and I've heard this, and I see Fred Fay on the floor, and Fred probably doesn't remember me, but I met him earlier in my career, and he told me lots of stories about how he would walk the plant and how he would talk. That matters. See, the thing is, we're not actually recreating this. We're just actually going back to what it used to be. Like it's about a relationship with people. It's about actually knowing the person on the line and being able to talk to them. It's about talking to the person because it's about doing those things. But I think when you start growing in some organization and you get to these big multinationals, there's no engagement because there's no personality, but there's no purpose. See, our purpose is to answer the call, right? And the call for us is those people in manufacturing, those people in construction that need help with the stuff that we do. There's not going to be anyone there to do it. We have to build the team. We have to build the workforce to be able to answer that call in the future. And when you start doing that, it gets a hell of a lot easier to recruit. It gets a hell of a lot easier to retain. Because honestly, a lot of people don't. And I think that helps us stand out. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for the presentation today. We're not the least bit surprised that something like this is happening in little old York, Pennsylvania, because that's what this community has been about for generations. And we're proud of you for carrying on a really significant tradition in this community. Congratulations to the third generation. If we could just get you to come out of your shell a little bit, you guys you might even do better. But congratulations, especially to the second generation, because that wouldn't be happening if it wouldn't be for what you did in teeing up the ball for them. So thank you so much. Where are we? Yes. Okay. We have the book, Pete, the Cat's Groovy Guide to Kindness by Kimberly and James Dean, which will be donated to the Ferguson Elementary School here in the city of York. And the book plate has been graciously signed by our speakers today. Next week, we will hear from our own Bill Hartman, the local here in our club chair of the Rotary Foundation, as well as from Jane Conover, the Global Grants Committee Chair. The two of them together will update us on opportunities for ways in which we can support the Rotary International Foundation and to highlight ways that the revenues from that foundation are supporting projects of our own right here. Our closing quote, we are bookending this day perfectly, is by past President Jackie Summers. Imagine if we could stretch our strength and move beyond obstacles to confidently build bridges and relationships. This is how we embrace the power of optimism and develop a world of promise in which to leave a lasting imprint for generations to come. Nice tie into the theme. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.